The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Brian Graham. I'm the chair of the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. My pronouns are he and him. And welcome to our main meeting. We are just getting confirmation from Jack. I can get going, right? Yeah.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Oh, okay. So welcome, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
I'm just going to go quickly through.
My name is Brian Graham.
I'm the chair of the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. My pronouns are he and him.
Reminder of the
And
instructions on
welcome
how
to our main
GoToWebinar
meeting.
works.
And we're going to do something a little bit differently this time versus last time because we have some confusion about how to raise your hand. So let me just go through that quickly. The first step, and maybe you're not hearing me already, but that's why I'm sharing the connect to audio instructions here. Make sure that you connect to audio. And if you are calling in, I think that's usually the default. If you are calling in, make sure you enter your audio pin so we can connect what you're looking at on the computer to your phone. And so that we can call on you if we need to. So that's pretty important. So this is the first step. Make sure you enter the audio pin if you are dialed in by phone. Next step is how to raise your hand or ask a question. We basically decided that the raising your hand feature is too confusing because the icons are confusing. So you should have a little kind of sidebar thing if you're on a computer that has the icons to connect to the phone. It also has if you expand that, there's a section to put questions in. So if you would like to speak, if you have a question, or whatever, just enter something into that and send that. That will send a message to our executive director, Jack Crawley, and myself, who will be monitoring that throughout the meeting. If we're debating a resolution, which we have a couple, and you want to speak, if you don't just have a question, you could tell us you have a question too. But if you are speaking for or against that action, please let us know so that we can make sure that we have a balanced debate. And then we'd also point out that you can, in that question, in that questions section, we can respond to you via text message or text response if you don't want us to respond to everyone. If we don't think your questions, even if we think your question's relevant, just tell us if you're sending a private message and we won't mention it to the whole body. So hopefully that makes sense. And I can move on to kind of the next step, which is how to vote. We'll just have probably just on the resolutions, we'll have counted votes for motions, and we'll initiate a poll. I guess we'll see how that goes. But the poll will appear on your screen, computer screen, and you'll have an option to click yes or no, or maybe abstain, and then submit that. If you are kind of a couple that are on one computer or whatever, you might want to break out a phone and connect or do something else so that you can both vote on your own, a tablet, something else. But if you're, that's just something to keep in mind. We're trying to keep attendance for these meetings, and it's hard to tell who's attending if everyone doesn't sign up on their own. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's see if we have any questions. I do know that it is a yay versus yay not to vote, and this is just the sample. You'll see that actual things. I'm going to pull over. Hopefully people can see this because there were questions about how many people we have right now. We have 960 something member. Andrew Scalise can correct me. Of FCDC, we have 307 attendees right now, so we do have a quorum. And we're going to continue, and that number continues to grow, so we will continue pushing forward. The vote looks very similar on a tablet or a phone, where whatever's on the screen kind of disappears, and you'll get to this very similar option. So it should be just about the same on a tablet or a phone. So I think that's about it for now. And we can also show the results as well. So you'll see the percentage of people voting, and we can share that with everyone. So we've done the first step of how this meeting will work. The second step is approval of agenda and minutes. The minutes were sent out in the last email reminder. They're on the website at fairfaxdemocrats.org. If you click on today's meeting, I have a motion on the floor from Dan Press, but I would just say and seconded by Linda Cook, to approve the agenda and minutes. If there are no changes, or if there are changes or that you would like to make or corrections, please enter them into the questions box right now. Otherwise, we will consider the agenda and minutes approved without objection. So if you have a question or change, or if you'd like to object, do that right now. Otherwise, we will push forward. And I'm gonna stop sharing my face for a moment, just so we can see the full screen. So seeing no objections, we're going to move on, and we are to approval of new members. So I have a motion on the floor. Oops, I guess I need to ask for the motion to approve the election of these members to their respective committees. And I have a motion on the floor from Morgan Jameson to approve that, and it was seconded by Rachel Rice and Sandra Clausen and Carl Frisch and a whole bunch of other people as well. So we can see the names on the screen. Hopefully everyone can see those. We do have a number of associate members in Hunter Mill, and that's, I think, particularly because Hunter Mill is at capacity right now. If there are any questions or discussion before we move to the vote, I think we're probably ready for the vote. There is a question, and I have to. There's a question about someone who thinks they should be a new member. I am going to find out what happened with that. If it turns out that that person should be a new member, then we will come back and vote you in later. But we're going to go ahead and move forward with a vote on these members, and I'll come back to the request from Mr. Savage. So I think we're ready for the quick poll on approving members. Oh, I think we're already doing it. Okay, great. And 73% of people have voted so far. Voting has been open for 50 seconds. The poll should just take over your screen. There are a couple people who are saying that they can't pick any choice, but I think some people are saying that you have to exit full screen to pick. If you're in full screen mode, it might be possible you might have to exit the full screen mode to see the question, or to vote on the question. I did not know that. So I'll give it just another moment as we're getting more people voting. Although I don't think there's any doubt actually in this result. So let's go ahead and close it. We think we figured out for some people, it seems like, what the issue is. All right, we're going to close this, and we're going to share the results. There were no votes, so it is unanimous. And we still have a quorum. All right, so we're going to move. We are going to move on. So thank you very much. I think there was another question, and we're going to respond privately on that because that person is already a member of FCDC. So let's move on to the treasurer's report. Did I messed that one up? Okay, treasurer's report. Nadia Golding, where are you? Hi, Nadia. Can we hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm here. I wanted to give you a brief treasurer's report. We have, you have on the screen the summary of all the information that is in the treasurer's report. It shows that so far this year, we have this fiscal year, which started on April 1st, we have taken in about $12,400, and we have spent about $35,700. We have some money that's being held aside for various other things. What this treasurer's report does not reflect is anything that came in by credit card in May, so it's really not going to give you a full picture. And I just wanted to highlight two things. First is that we had a really successful event with Terry McAuliffe that brought in $4,400, and most of that is not yet, almost all of that is not in this treasurer's report. And we also did pretty well with our mailing, and there's about $1,500 from that mailing that's not in the treasurer's report. So our financial situation is a little brighter than what you can see here. There's a lot more information that I can give anyone. If any of the district committee chairs or other people want to know where the district committees stand, please email me. And if there's any questions, please ask tonight.
Thank you, Nadia. I'm not seeing any questions. I'm not seeing any questions on here, so I think we probably can move on.
Good. All right. Bye.
Thank you. All right, to the chair's report. So I'll turn my camera back on just because I can, I guess. Just a couple updates. I'll be pretty quick, I think. Now that we're talking about reopening, and I guess in Northern Virginia and Fairfax, and through phases 1 and 2, FCDs. So we're not in any phase yet, right? Or phase 0, right? Phase 1 and phase 2, or phase 1 will begin soon, and through phase 1 and phase 2 of eased restrictions, FCDC will continue to not have in-person activities. But we may continue to have phone or electronic meetings like this in their place. So FCDC is providing a Zoom conference call service for these meetings, for our standing committee and district meetings. And if you would like to have a meeting basically of any type, all of our standing committees are welcome to, and district committees are welcome to have all of their meetings on our service. You can request that through the request form that's on fairfaxdemocrats.org. FCDC offices, the headquarters and I guess the South County office will remain closed to all but a limited essential operational use. So really not for any purposes other than by the executive director and treasurer and assistant treasurer if they need to come in and get the mail or something like that. So that's basically all that we're doing in the FCDC office now, and we would like for members and the public to continue to stay away for now. As we approach the end of phase 2, which really is not supposed to happen, I think, until probably the beginning of July at the earliest, we will put out more kind of guidance and information about how we may safely resume in-person activities and use of the offices. So please continue to follow the CDC, state, and county guidance, and of course, stay safe. And maybe you enjoyed my little political cartoon. Additional updates, and actually I need to give me a second because those are both TBD. Okay, so a task force has been appointed by myself to develop rules and a process for conducting the Herndontown mayoral and council endorsements fairly and safely. At our last FCDC meeting, we voted to have an endorsement, and unless we make a change to that, we need kind of a way to figure out how to do this safely during COVID-19. So a task force is put together, and it probably within a month or so we'll know what we're doing with regards to that endorsement process. Just a note, and I sent an email last week about this, but our bylaws now require meeting attendance at FCDC meetings if you would like to maintain voting membership. So the good news for you is you're at this meeting, so you're here. You have to attend a meeting once a district or countywide meeting once every 120 days. But as I mentioned at the last meeting, we are granting exceptions to everyone due to COVID-19, but to comply with the bylaws, you have to tell your district chair. So the district chair should be, if you are in the situation, the district chair should be reaching out to you to let you know, and you just need to reply to them and let them know that you would like to remain a voting member if that's your situation. The labor and state and local affairs standing committees are still looking for members interested in reorganization. Those are two of our standing committees which haven't yet reorganized since reorganization. And mostly that's because we didn't have a lot of members appointed to those committees. We did get a couple more, or at least one more to labor. So we're going to call meetings basically the next 2 weeks for these. I'm just trying to find a time where I can get as many of those people together. So if you are interested in those things, please let us know. And then I will also point out that other standing committees are continuing to meet. There was a question about other standing committees. I know some of them have not met as regularly now because of COVID-19, but I will make a point to ensure that the chairs of those standing committees do call meetings every month, as kind of is the expectation, unless there is a need. But I think some of them are. So we have a whole bunch of standing committees. I don't know that I want to go into each of them, but if you go to the fairfaxdemocrats.org website, go about, and then go to duties and responsibilities, there's kind of a list of like bullet points about all of our standing committees. So if you're interested in participating in any of them, please let us know. I mean, both these committees that are here, labor and state and local affairs, are kind of issues-based things, making sure that we're supportive and aware of issues related to the labor committee, and then state and local just kind of generally looks at kind of affairs that we should be looking at on a state and local level. So if you're interested in those things, just let us know. Well, actually, let your district chair know, because you would be a representative for your district. And I guess there's just another question. There have been questions about this. So the attendance requirement for voting members of FCDC is you must attend one district committee meeting or countywide committee meeting like this every 120 days. So hopefully that answers those questions. There was a question about who is on the Herndon endorsement task force. I'll put out an email about that, because some of the people that I thought I was appointing have kind of rejected their appointments or preferred not to be on the task force. So once the makeup of that task force is final, I will send out an email so that everyone knows. Okay, I think that's it for this. The last thing for me is convention updates. The congressional district conventions were earlier this month, and I want to congratulate the FCDC members who have been elected national delegates. And of course, we also have an alternate in Holly Hazard as well. So congratulations to a number of FCDC members who will be national delegates. And I think probably a couple more will be candidates for national delegate at the state convention, which is going to be a virtual convention on June 20th at 10 a.m. At that convention, we will vote on additional national delegates at large, like I had said, but also we will vote on DNC members. I had mentioned before that this wasn't a normal year and we probably weren't going to be able to fill the delegation, but DPVA announced Sunday that that there are limited spots available for vacancies. So if you are not a state delegate and you would like to be one, go to the DPVA website, vademocrats.org, go to the delegate selection area, and at the very bottom, there's a form that you can complete to volunteer to fill a vacancy. It was also pointed out that electors are also two electors at large are also being elected at the convention, but I was simplifying, so thank you. And at this point, I'm gonna, if I can find him on the list, I'm gonna let Morgan Jameson give a very brief update about the national convention based from the DNC. So, Morgan.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Brian, thank you so much. So as you all have heard, the DNC would like to be rescheduled until August. That's actually not official yet. So pursuant to Article 8H of, or pursuant to Article 2, Section 8H of the bylaws of the DNC, we have the authority from the Rules and Bylaws Committee to vote on a recommendation, or the chair has the authority to present this to us as members to vote on a recommendation by the Rules and Bylaws Committee, which is basically a vote that is currently going on that gives the authority to the DNCC, so the Democratic National Committee, or Convention Committee rather, to do what they need to do in order to keep us safe. So the chair has recommended this. There is a live vote that is happening right now with the DNC. Ballots were sent electronically and via mail. Mail also included a return postage envelope. We've had over 10 days to vote. This will be, voting on this will be closing on Friday the 29th, when they have to be received by the Office of the Secretary at DNC headquarters in DC. So what this means is that we are giving the authority to the DNCC to make the best decision. Things that have been discussed is the likelihood of a virtual convention or a hybrid virtual in-person convention, however that is best going to work out. This also gives the authority to the DNCC to officially indicate the August dates that we have heard the convention being pushed back to as the new official dates. That authority had not previously been granted, and this vote authorizes that authority. Brian mentioned what we are doing at the state level, and the campaigns, both Bernie and Biden campaigns, are working together on part of that. So anyways, thank you very much, Brian, for the time. If anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know.
All right, thanks, Morgan. There was a, okay, I'm looking at questions and trying to do all this, juggle all these things. It's kind of a new skill I'm working on. At the last FCDC meeting, we had a kind of a call for people to join the Sustainer Society. I just wanted to kind of give an update and thank all the people that joined. There were a lot of people that joined. Some people upgraded their membership level and stuff like that. I just wanted to honestly thank all those people. They are kind of the foundation of our providing the support that we need to continue on an ongoing basis the operations of FCDC. So thanks to all these people, and you can click on that link to join if you'd like. And on that note, I'm transitioning to Vice Chair's reports, and I will transition to the person also responsible for that, Tina Barczyk. So Tina, let me try to find you on the list. And Jack, if you can find her too. I don't. It's not a. Oh, here I can search apparently. There she is. Tina, you're unmuted. I think. Tina, are you there? I can't hear her. Can anyone else hear her? Jack, can you hear her? I'm getting no's.
Cannot.
Okay, Tina, I guess I'll come back to you. Maybe try a different method of connecting to audio. We can do your update if we need to, but I'm gonna move on for a moment. Actually, I'll leave you unmuted just so if we can see if we can start hearing you. Let's see who is next. Janice Yohai, who is our Vice Chair of Voter Registration and Education. Let's see it. Janice, I have unmuted you.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you so much. I had sent in a sheet. Yes, thank you. It's pretty small on my computer, but maybe other people can read it. You can read this at your leisure, but just to tell you what's going on in voter registration and education. We face probably the biggest voter education challenge that we have ever faced, and that is educating people on voting by mail. Historically, we have had about 8% of the population, of the voter population, voting by mail. We have to increase that by orders of magnitude in order to get the turnout that we absolutely need in our November election. We like to think of Virginia as being blue, but it's only been blue because of turnout, and it's only been blue because of the young people turning out and the minorities turning out. And these are exactly the people that don't know about voting by mail. So this is our huge challenge. And in the past, our committee has kind of avoided voting by mail because it's so difficult to do if you go to the Virginia State website. So in the past we've always stressed voting in person early. But we can't do that with COVID-19. And thank goodness that we have found what I believe to be the best way for people to apply to vote by mail. And that is by using eabsentee.org/G/vote2020. It is a fabulous website. If you look at the highlighted blue, that kind of summarizes all the neat things about it. First of all, everybody can vote by mail. This particular source of email absentee applications is authorized by the Virginia Board of Elections. It is nonpartisan. We've used it successfully, and it's so easy to use. People have written to me to say, "Oh my gosh, it took me just 40 seconds." Why should I go to the vote.virginia.gov to do this, which takes more than 6 minutes? And that's if you do everything correctly. The people that are the population that we have to get to turn out to vote by mail is not going to be as savvy about using the Virginia website. Is not going to be as savvy about using computers. Doesn't know how to navigate the website. It's complicated for anybody. And you can get derailed so readily and decide, oh, the hell with this. I'm not going to bother. So with the eabsentee.org, you go directly to the application. It's about 6 questions instead of the 8 or 9 pages you have to wade through on the Virginia website. So it's easy. It's not confusing. There are no missteps, and you don't get, and you continue on so easily. It's such a great website to use. You also do not need to have a DMV certified signature, electronic signature on file anywhere. So it broadens the electorate to people who don't drive, which is about, these days, which is about 30% of high school seniors. They have elected not to drive. I don't know why, but that's the case. So you don't have to have a DMV signature on file to use it. You can just sign your name by typing it. And it was Senator Howell from the General Assembly back in Republican General Assembly senator back in 2015 who convinced the Board of Elections to accept this kind of online signature writing, which is great for us. The website also instantly provides people with a receipt of having requested their mail-in ballot through them. They get it via email. They get it just by pressing the submit button. They get it, so they get proof of their absentee request going to, in this case, Fairfax County Office of Elections, and they have a fail-safe option as what, not option, but situation as well, because once people request their mail-in ballot, they are told to go to the state website to verify that everything's in order. Check the status of your voter registration, of your application to vote by mail. I did this just the other day myself. I applied for my absentee ballot on Wednesday. I got my email confirmation and a copy of my application a minute later. I was able to track my application on vote.virginia.gov on the very next day, Thursday. And I received my ballot earlier today. That's after a weekend and Memorial Day. So it worked very well, and I voted today too. I suggest that we all, as we're sitting here with our phones, we go to eabsentee.org/G/vote2020 and apply for your mail-in ballot. You will see how quickly you can do it, and you will naturally want to advise your friends and family to do the same. And that's how we're going to get such a huge increase of people to vote by mail. It's by all of you doing it for yourself and passing along the information. With this COVID-19, everything's closed.
There's a couple questions that I want to make sure that we take care of them before you move on to the second part of your thing.
Okay.
So we haven't embedded this on the FCDC website, but we will soon. But there's a couple questions about, well, one, I would just have to mention, give a shout out to former FCDC chair and Virginia State Senator Scott Servell, who
Yes.
kind of was the driver behind the initially doing this back in, I think, 2014.
Yes.
But there are questions about, and eAbsentee works for anyone in Virginia, the eabsentee.org, because it's just they're just making a request for you. So there are questions about whether you need to put in your social security number. You do need to put in the last four because it's just like a number of regular requests that you would be doing for this. They're just passing on that request. And then I guess the last question is, who created eabsentee.org?
Well, originally the online application was written by Anish Chopra, who was the IT director for Obama's campaign, or for the Obama administration. And then it was always available on Scott Servell's website. And then a bunch of Thomas Jefferson students got together and created a 501c4 organization to make this a readily available site for everybody to get their application to vote by mail.
Right. So there's an organization that there's a 501c3 that runs it now.
Correct. 501c4. Mm-hmm.
Or 4. Sorry. Okay. We'll work on making a kind of better link, or a Fairfax STEM link that is shorter and easier to type than that, because there are some concerns about that. And there are questions, some other questions that we can get back to kind of privately, but I think that I just wanted to answer those for the people that were asking about them. So thank you.
Okay, and the eabsentee.org/G/vote2020 is not that difficult, and it's a direct way of getting to that website. The other thing that this website offers is a place for people to update their voter registration. And it also says, oh, are you registered to vote? And if not, it sends them to vote.virginia.gov, which leads me to my second big issue. But first, I do want to ask, these 300 people on our site right now, on this conference right now, to order your mail-in ballot. And even if you're not in Congressional District 11, you can order your absentee ballot for the November election right now. Get it done. My second big point that I wanted to talk about today was the difficulty with the actual level of voter registration going on right now, it is a huge problem. If we can take away that the image for the vote by mail, so I can focus on voter registration, that would be great. In January and February of this year, we had more voter registrations than we did in 2016. It was great, gangbusters. Since March, the DMV has closed, which always provided for 80% of the voter registration activity. The schools have closed. Last year, we had 4,000 high schoolers registered to vote. The colleges and universities are closed. Nova and George Mason were places that we got so many voter registrations. So our typical places to secure voter registrations are all closed. We cannot be tabling anywhere. We cannot be outside anywhere. It's a whole new ball game to get people to register to vote with all these, without seeing people face to face. And we also cannot, as we see people face to face, we can't even get them to understand the importance of their vote. We can't look them in the eye and get them to not only register to vote, but to realize how important it is to show up and vote. So these are the young people who have never voted before or rarely done so. We no longer have this one-on-one connection with them. We have to come up with different ways of getting people to register to vote. It's almost like the outcome of our November election is based upon our ability to get people to register to vote. And this is a huge mountain for us to climb. We have to do it in different ways. We have to do it electronically. We have to do it Facebook. We have to do it by talking to you, each one of you individually, and having you make voter registration offer voter registration information to everybody on your personal address, in your personal address book, your friends and family, and get them in turn to take it one more step. So if we can pool our resources and get people to communicate how people can register to vote electronically, then we can do this. But it's going to take all of us working together to make that happen. And the outcome of our election is really dependent on that. That's what I have. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Janice. I think we've been able to handle the other questions. I think I will just say, because I don't know if Christopher is on the phone or whatever, but we do have plans to use digital outreach and other things to push people to online voter registration, to request ballots absentee as well. In addition to the phone banking that we did, just as I'm talking about, because I don't see him on here, we did phone banking into the town of Vienna, trying to get people to vote absentee for that. So you'll see kind of similar things. We'll start doing more kind of video-based things on social media that hopefully people will engage with, and we'll also do text banking as another way to connect with people. So those are things that we're trying to do for digital outreach to ensure that we're still staying connected to people. Just different ways to do the same things
Yes.
without contacting people directly under COVID. So.
And all of these efforts are necessary. And if we can kind of, talk to each other about what kind of efforts people are making, we might be able to share some anecdotes and some best practices along the way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are also changes that are to the laws that have been mentioned a little bit on the questions as well, that go into effect July 1, and eventually we'll have same-day voter registration and things like that. So we're going to see lots of progress eventually, but we're not there yet. So
we're going to have same-day voter registration when?
I'd have to pass that off to someone else who knows the law better than I, because I think it might have to be. I think that was one of the bills that has to be revoted on next year. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah, it's Phyllis Klein is saying 2021. So, okay, thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
Let me see who is next on my list here. Okay, let me make sure okay. Next is Holly Hazard. Let's see if I can find Holly on here. There she is.
Hey,
Hi, Holly.
hello all. Very briefly, I just wanted to give an update on Women's Rights Committee. We've had 3 very successful forums as part of our Educate, Activate, and Vote series, and I would love for everyone on this call to assist us in soliciting their friends and neighbors and activists to join us Sunday after next, June 7th, for our 3rd in a series, which will be focused on the special challenges that affect immigrant women. Manisha Singh is coordinating this and hosting it. We've got a fantastic speaker in Nazeen Sayafri, who is an attorney who spent her career advocating for immigrant women. And I just remind everyone that the purposes of these forums is not for all of us to get together and talk about these issues, although that's fantastic. And I've learned so much from the first 2 myself, but it is a portal for us to be able to extend a hand to our passionate activist friends who may not be aware of what FCDC does, so that they can learn about the issues that we care deeply about. And then we can finesse them over to things, just as Janice has been talking about, to encourage them to work with us to elect people who will help them with these issues that are of their passion, of course, our passion as well. So my ask is, first of all, that everyone on the call, please go to our Facebook page, FCDC Women's Rights Facebook page, and also the FCDC Facebook page if you have not liked that, and sign up to be allowed to be have access to the women's rights page. And then also, if you would both attend the meeting and then ask 2 or 3 friends of yours who have got an interest in women's rights issues to please join us on Sunday, and then we will make a pitch at that meeting for them to become more actively involved in FCDC. The Zoom information for the meeting is on the FCDC website in the calendar section. I hope Jack may correct me. And if not, just shoot me an email, or if you go to the Facebook page, it's on that, but I'm happy to get you any Zoom information that you might require. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Holly. Let's see who I have next. Amber Bucket from LGBT Plus. I will mention, just because it's almost June, it's almost Pride Month, but we never have an FCDC meeting in June. So Amber, are you there?
Yes, just a moment.
Oh, okay. I guess let me go to Andy Pavord, and we'll come back to Amber, and we'll also come back to Keegan still, don't worry. Andy Pavord, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, hi. I just want a couple things Providence is doing. First, on May 31st, we're going to try to support our local restaurants through a virtual dinner and discussion where you can order food through a couple of restaurants and have a chat with Jeff McKay. That'll be May 31st at 7 p.m. and information will be coming out. We're also initiating a progressive book chat, just as a way to keep connections going during this time. The first chat will be held June 18th. It will discuss Edward Baptist's The Half Has Never Been Told, Slavery and the Making of American Capitalism. If you thought you knew about slavery and haven't read this book, there's a huge amount to learn. It's essential background for discussing race and politics in America. The second book chat will be held on July 16th. We'll discuss Thomas Pinckney's Capital and Ideology. It's a big, thick book. You don't have to read the books to participate, but if you're interested in having some discussions on some issues, contact me and I'll give you the Zoom information. We're also having Zoom meetings with high school students We've had a couple of them with campaign staffers from Jerry Conley and the other campaigns. And we're going to have another one this Wednesday with David Broder to talk with high school students about the union movement. So if you're interested in any of these events, please let me know. You can find me on Facebook, or I guess send it to Providence Democrats, Providence@fairfaxdemocrats.org. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Andy. It looks like Amber is ready. So Amber, we're back to you now.
Hi, thanks, Brian. So this is Amber, Vice Chair for the LGBTQ Standing Committee. We are organizing an event on June 13th at 4 p.m. We are going to be hosting a panel of leaders in the LGBTQ community here in Northern Virginia, from some local organizations, Reverend Emily Chatton with Transgender Education Association, Evelyn Brumar with Casa Brumar, and Siobhan Smith with FCPS Pride, and might have another person. We're just waiting to hear back. But right now, those are 3 confirmed panelists, and it will be moderated by our very own Providence District School Board member, Carl Frisch. Just once again, we're going to be sending out in the emails and social media and such soon. So we'll have that up here soon. But June 13th, 4 p.m. So hope to have everybody here, and also please share with friends and family. It's going to be a virtual town hall going over, personal experiences of our panelists, as well as also their work here in Northern Virginia and in LGBTQ activism, and how people can also get engaged, even with things being as they are. I think we're struggling, obviously, but also these grassroots organizations, these activist organizations are also struggling, and so if we can support them as much as possible, not just for Pride Month, but going into the future, I think would make a huge difference. So hope to have as many people as possible for our June 13th event, and looking forward to it. If you have any questions, feel free to poke us. I think I should have my email contact through our FCDC organization webpage.
Yeah, we all are in there. So thanks, Amber.
Yep.
Right, let's go back to Tina if I can. So we're going to take a second attempt at Tina. Tina, are you there? Okay, well, not hearing Tina, although she's muted. I'm just going to mention a couple things real quick. One, so we already mentioned we had a fairly successful fundraiser with Terry McAuliffe. Our next fundraiser is a yoga class with a noted teacher guru, Satish Kumar, who apparently has relaxing breathing, a very well-known relaxing breathing technique and such. But that's Sunday, May 31st at 10 a.m. fairfaxdems.org/yoga is that one. And then very topical with the Trump administration pulling out of another weapons agreement. On June 10th at 5 p.m., we'll have another Zoom fundraiser featuring Tom Countryman, who is Assistant Secretary of State for a former Assistant Secretary of State for Nonproliferation, and Executive Director from Beyond the Bomb, Cecily Thompson Williams. So that's fairfaxdems.org/nuke talk if you are interested. I think that's probably it. Well, no, there is one other thing. We are having we have planned to sometime in the late June and July timeframe have what we're calling a Zoomathon. I don't know exactly what Tina wanted us to mention about it, but we are looking for volunteers to help with that. So we're going to continue to have fundraisers like this. We have our major fundraiser The Jefferson Obama dinner is scheduled for September, but honestly, I don't know how things are going to be in September. So we're going to continue to push and have virtual fundraisers because we do have an operating budget of $250,000, or expenses more than $250,000, and we need to raise money for that, so to keep things going. So I think that's it from the vice chairs. Are there any vice chairs that I'm missing that we're supposed to talk? Please speak now or forever hold your peace. I feel like there was someone who wanted to say something actually at the very beginning, and I'm forgetting it. Well, I guess we'll move on. If we can come back, or you can say something in announcements if I missed you, I'm sorry about that. But let's moving on. But Tina also wants me to mention that we are going to very shortly have Democrat themed face masks as well. So just take a look out for those soon. I think that's probably it. Okay, let's move on to Kat Kehoe, who should be the last of the vice chairs to speak here. Oops, that's the wrong slide. Kat Kehoe. Kat, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Just make your update, and then we'll move into new business with you, so that you can make the presentation of your resolution.
Okay, great. Yeah, just a wonderful announcement that Fairfax County has signed the largest solar power purchase agreement in the state of Virginia, or the Commonwealth of Virginia. And that will produce 1.73 million megawatt hours of clean renewable energy and save 1.2 million metric tons of carbon dioxide. So huge news, and just really proud of Fairfax County for being a leader in the solar power space for the state. And also probably a lot of people have heard that the carbon dioxide emissions have gone down by 17% during COVID-19. So a little bit of a bright spot there at least. And that's it for the environmental report.
Okay, we're going to move on to new business, and the first thing is a resolution from the environmental committee. So I guess make the motion and then discuss it.
Okay, so I've never done this before, so bear with me. Okay, the title is cut off. Is that okay?
Yeah, I wanted to put the actual text as large as good. The title is pretty much also in the be it resolved. So
I agree. Okay, I didn't know it formally needed to be there. So just a little bit of a background story. This is asking for any legislature who has jurisdictions in Fairfax County not to vote for any fossil fuel legislation. And that should seem like, yeah, of course, no brainer. But unfortunately, this last legislative session, 3 of our state senators with jurisdictions in Fairfax County voted to give an exception to build the largest fossil fuel power plant in the state built. So this is sort of a direct reaction to that. Luckily, the House side refused to even see the bill. So the author, a Democrat, the head of the Energy Committee appointed by Dick Saslaw, had to rescind his bill. So, you know, luckily it got killed in the House. But so the reason for this resolution is we just want to send a clear message that if they try to do this again, you know, Fairfax County Democratic Committee does not want any fossil fuel power plants or any other use of fossil fuel, you know, resources that go into fossil fuel energy for the future.
Okay, so so would you like to make the motion to?
Okay, again, I've never done this before, so guide me through it if you don't mind. So,
Well, just say you're making the motion.
Okay.
Move that we approve this resolution.
I'm making a motion that we approve this resolution as seen on the screen.
Okay, and then I have a second from Reggie Meneses. Sorry about that. Is there any discussion? Is there anyone that wants to talk about this before we vote on it?
Friendly amendment. I see that I did ask for a change this morning, so it become version 7. And
Yeah,
that,
I missed it. I know Jack mentioned it, but I apparently missed it. I didn't think it was.
one of my committee members is passionate about it, so I just wish to
Yeah, let's see if I can
honor his wishes. So instead of with jurisdictions in Fairfax County, say representing Fairfax County in the title and in the therefore. Thank you.
Did I get it?
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
There's a request about from Senator Clausen to fix the formatting. We're approving the resolution and not the formatting of the resolution, right? So we can fix the formatting to conform with DPPA formatting practices. I don't think we need to get bogged down in the weeds of that. We can make it however we need to correct.
Yeah, let's
I mean, I'm not seeing anyone who the motion has been seconded. So I'm seeing a couple questions on here, but I'm not seeing anyone who wants to talk about the resolution. Maybe Mr. Nielsen would like to speak. Okay. Bruce, you're muted. If you would like to speak, I would like to recognize you to speak in opposition of the bill if you'd like. There you go, Bruce. Can we hear you?
Can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can.
I would like to remind all the members of the Democratic Committee of the generosity of Senator Saslaw, one of our most generous contributors and most prolific fundraisers for the Democratic Party statewide. Senator Saslaw is an oil and gas dealer for a living. Proposing to prod all of our legislators to go against the Senate Majority Leader on something like this is inflammatory and unnecessary. When we send a resolution to Richmond, it's ignored anyway. And I believe this particular resolution would antagonize the senator and may affect his generosity. So you can think of that when you go to vote on this proposal. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bruce. Is there anyone else? Tiffany is asking, and I don't know if she wants to ask it herself. Tiffany is asking if this resolution is asking to vote against all bills that support or promote new fossil fuel extraction. So let me unmute Kat to see if she can answer that question.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, in the title, it is to vote against all bills that contribute to fossil fuel extraction, development, and use, and vote for clean energy bills.
Okay. There is a question about what we're doing with the resolution once voted on. I mean, typically, at least what we've been done recently, is putting it on the FCDC website. I don't. We can do something else with it if we need to, but
Right. I mean, for me, if there's legislation again in the future, I mean, hopefully there never will be, but if there's legislation to once again, invest in fossil fuel power, I would say, Fairfax County Democratic Committee did pass a resolution asking we do not invest in fossil fuel energy.
okay. I actually have another question. Let's see if I can get them on here. Edward and Elizabeth Levine and Kessel. Let's see. Can we hear you?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I was just wondering whether a regular budget resolution in the legislature would run afoul of this proposal.
Okay, thanks for the question. I think I don't know if Kat can answer that question either. I think there is a proposed amendment, so I'm gonna find Mr. Press. Mr. Press, you may speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I think that's one of the issues with this is, I mean, any budget or any bill that even, funds, paying for gas for police cars would potentially run afoul of this. I would propose an amendment to add the word increased before the word use in the resolved paragraph.
Okay. I mean, I actually worked with this year regulatory lawyer on this resolution, and we did discuss that issue, and we felt like the language that we used, sort of steered clear of that issue. But I don't have a problem with that added language.
Yeah, the text with jurisdictions in Fairfax County. No, okay. So I guess the link that I have is for that is not right. Okay, so I'll put it back to the. I tried to pull the PDF. This is the actual thing. So we're talking about adding the word increased. I mean, it technically increased use. There wasn't I'm not sure that there was an actual kind of proposed amendment there, but if there is any objection to them, I'm getting no. So we can't do that unless we have an actual vote. So let me go to Dan for a second. Would you like to make that as a motion to amend?
I thought I already did, but yes, I would move to amend the resolution to add that word increased right where you wrote it there.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, there's a second from Jean Thompson. Is there any considering a couple people are saying no on the questions. Dan, do you need to speak on the motion? Do I have it correct, by the way?
Yes, you have it correct.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you need to say on that before I potentially go to the person who is saying no?
No, I think it's self-explanatory. I think it makes the resolution just a little more practical.
Okay. I'm gonna go to Bev Bacon then. Bev can.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So I always get confused when we have these amendments to things because I asked to speak in favor of the resolution, and I don't think we should amend it. I think this resolution is a stake in the ground that says we have got to get rid of fossil fuels, and we have to have it in our mind that we don't do anything that supports fossil fuels. This isn't any kind of a binding law that is going to prevent them from getting gas for police cars. But it puts a stake in the ground that says we believe we should not be doing anything to encourage, to support or promote fossil fuels. And I think we should just pass it the way it was originally submitted. And I think you did a great job, Kat.
Thank you. Thanks for your support.
Okay, is there any other comments on the amendment before we vote on the amendment? So to be clear, we would not be voting on the overall resolution at this point. We were just voting on whether or not we are adding the word. Do we not have a kind of a blanket? I'm looking at the polls. I don't see a blank one in here.
I just got off the phone with Khalid. He's going to add one in just 2 seconds.
Okay, so we need another minute. There is someone else who wants to kind of change the resolution, so maybe we'll talk about that. So let me find Larry here. Mr. Lipolis.
Larry works just fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay, so in light of the concern about Senator Saslaw, which I'm really not sure what his position is, I wonder if we couldn't delete the language that talks about voting against all bills that support or promote fossil fuel extraction, development, and increased use, and just leave it as a resolution that encourages them to vote for clean energy bills. And I don't know if it would be useful to expand that language a little bit to give it some more content, but I'd like to get other people's thoughts on that.
Okay, I mean, I think, and Kat, you can correct me wrong if I'm wrong. The idea from the environmental committee who created this was that seeing that we're in the direction from kind of divesting and getting away from fossil fuels, that we should kind of make a stand there. I will point out, just generally, resolutions have no actual authority. They're just, as Sandra Clausen mentions, they are expression of our policy wishes. So they are, there's nothing in, if people go against it. I mean, some of our General Assembly members went against our resolution that we voted on in January. I think that's fine. I am seeing concern about removing that part of the resolution from the chat.
Right, I would not want to.
But there is a suggestion, so just hold on a second. And I think it might be maybe a good idea. Holly, it sounds like you're still unmuted. I think maybe you're proposing that we send this back to the committee, because I would point out that I guess we could have a special session, but the General Assembly doesn't vote on things again until next year, really. So maybe this is something we can send back to the environmental committee potentially, or is this something?
Sorry, but do what with it? I've been through 7 versions of this. We like the resolution the way it is. We think it states properly what the Democratic Party stands for, as we saw in that climate change debate and what they say on their website. I don't see any changes to be made.
Okay, so Jack, I still don't see a poll in here, so.
So we're not able to add poll questions after, but we could just reuse one of the earlier motions that we have in here.
We're going to use the agenda and minutes poll. So this first poll, this first vote is on whether or not we add the word increased. That's all we're doing. We're not voting overall on whether we're approving it. We are going to, and I know that the text is, so if you are in full screen mode for the for our presentation, you have to, apparently you have to escape out of the full screen mode so that you can see the poll question. And even though the text on here says motion to approve the agenda in minutes, we are voting on whether or not we are amending the resolution to add the word increased to maybe. So voting is in progress. We have 35% of people voted at this point, and we still have a quorum. I'm going to pull that back over here just so people can see it. So maybe people can't see it because we're at 63% voted so far. Okay, I'm going to give it about 10 more seconds, so please submit a vote. And we'll show the poll result once it's done, once it's completed. Okay, I'm going to close the vote and share the result. The resolution is amended as described. 57% of the 350, well, of the people who voted, of the quorum that's still here, have voted for this. So we're going to move on to actual approval of this resolution. I know that we talked about it at great length. So please. Please keep your comments brief, and please do not repeat yourself or repeat other comments if there are comments that need to be made. Matthew Bell has requested to speak. Mr. Bell.
Hi, Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just two quick points. One, the maker of the resolution. In January, I had to send the resolution to all the elected state delegates and state senators of Fairfax County. We got good responses from that. Again, as Brian said, they didn't all vote as FCDC had voted. But my recommendation, if this passes, is Jack or the maker of the resolution or someone would send this to all those elected officials, because they may or may not see it on your emails or on the website. Secondly, I think Bruce brings up a valid point. Personally, I've knocked hundreds of doors for Dick Saslow. I think Senator Saslow is a great leader in the state Senate. That being said, climate change is the #1 issue in the Democratic Party. I don't think we should put this resolution back to any standing committees, because we should make sure that this is on record if the committee supports it, due to the platform of the DNC that they're creating. And I think, yes, this is state, but that should be, on the record. If FCDC does support this, I think it's timely. Thank you for the maker of the resolution for bringing this forward.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I have a request to call the question. Is there any other? I'm not seeing any other requests for discussion, so I think we could just move forward to the actual vote. This would be the vote on adopting the resolution on the climate change and fossil fuel use. So, not seeing any other discussion. Bev, would you like to speak again? Sorry. Hold on a second.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to get clarification from Kat. I think this is pathetic, but I want to get clarification from Kat whether they want us to approve it in this pathetically weakened down form, or whether she wants to just resubmit it at some other time.
Thank you for the question. I do support it with the word increased put in there. It is a discussion that I did have with the environmental lawyer with the Sierra Club about that concern. And I think that Mr. Press's addition is fine, but thank you for your support.
Okay. Let's just go to the question then. So we're going to launch the poll again. We're sending it out to everyone right now and should be collecting responses. Vote now. We'll give it about a minute or so. And Kat, thanks for the update. I'll mute you again. Okay, just another 10 seconds. Please cast your vote. We've got 80% of people voted so far. And actually, okay. I'm about to close the vote. And I'll share your results. It is not close. This resolution passed pretty clearly. So thank you for that report. The next resolution is a resolution by Mr. John Farrell. So let's see if I can find him. And John, you are self-muted, so you'll have to unmute yourself if you would like to speak.
How's that, Brian? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I did put, there was a lot of text on here, so I put it on 2 slides. The therefore be it resolved is on the next slide. So.
Terrific. Okay, so this resolution, and you really ought to go to the next slide, not the first one. This resolution asks the General Assembly to do 2 things before the end of July. And this afternoon, Governor Northam, in his press conference, said there would be a special session in July or August, and this resolution is encouraging the General Assembly and the governor to call a special session in July. And the 2 things that they're asking him to do is to simplify the ballot envelope, and I'll explain what that is for the folks who may not be familiar with or who's never voted by mail, and to allow, not require, but allow local governments to send out the ballot package to all the registered voters in their district. Now, it doesn't require the voter to use the ballot package. The voter really wants to show up on election day, they can do that, and we can talk about what they would be faced under those circumstances. But that's basically all this resolution does. How exactly the legislation is written would remain to be seen. We'd leave that to our legislators, and how it's implemented. The second part of the resolution, how it be implemented. There may be localities that don't want to or can't afford to mail out ballots to everybody. But here in Fairfax, we have for several years done a mailing to every registered voter in late October. Many of you will remember, you get this envelope that's yellow or butternut colored. And so that's already in the county budget. And what we're trying to do here is to simplify and encourage people to vote by mail because, 1, it will protect their health while enabling them to vote, and also reduce the number of election officers we have to have and reduce the exposure of those election officers to any illness. Going back to the ballot envelope, if you've never voted by mail, you may not be aware of how the package comes to you. When you get the ballot envelope, the absentee ballot, there is an envelope holding the ballot, the blank ballot. Then there's a ballot envelope into which you put your marked ballot, and then there's a mailer envelope into which you put the ballot envelope, and that goes back to the elections office. On the return address of the mailer envelope is your name, your address, your location, and the like. As a vestige of old law, our state code today requires that there are a series of blanks on the ballot envelope that the voter has to fill in: the date, a witness, their name, their address. And if for some reason the voter, in filling in those blanks, and I think there's 9 different steps, if they make a mistake in filling out those blanks, their vote is never counted. The ballot envelope is never opened. And there's really no need for all of that information to be transcribed by the voter onto the ballot envelope when all that information is already on the mailer envelope. In some jurisdictions and in some elections, we've lost as many as 20% of our ballots because people didn't fill out the ballot envelope, the inside envelope, correctly. There's no need for all of this information to be on the ballot envelope. It's already on the mailer envelope. And so that's basically the direction of this resolution. It is timely in that we need to get this done before the end of July so that election offices across the Commonwealth can implement and make the changes, print new ballot envelopes, and make the other changes to enable them to go ahead and mail out their ballot, their mail-in ballots. As most of you probably know, the ballot, the start of the absentee voting period is at the end of September, 45 days before the election. So that's when the election actually starts. And these materials need to get out to the printer and need to be ready to go by the middle of September. And it takes some time to get the information from the General Assembly and then get the work done. In putting this resolution together, I have consulted with members of the General Assembly. I have consulted with members of the Electoral Board, and there was a discussion of this at the most recent Election Protection Committee meeting. Just to be clear, though, I'm the only one who wrote the thing. So if you're upset with the way this thing was written, blame me, not them. For those of you who don't know me, I've been working on election protection issues since 2000. I've been a trainer of our poll watchers who are inside the polling place. I've been in every provisional ballot meeting for the last 10 years, and I was in the CAP and worked with the Bachmans and the Rosenbergs for many years in trying to enhance and increase the number of mailed-in absentee ballots that actually got counted. And for the last several years, I've acted as a chief election officer in one of our precincts. So I think in putting this together, it really was aimed at increasing the likelihood that our ballots of our voters will be counted and increasing the opportunity for those voters not to have to show up on election day. Now, if this language or bills like this were to be adopted, it wouldn't require the voter to vote by mail. The voter could still show up, but it wouldn't require the local government to mail out the ballots. It just would enable them to do it and enable people to vote at home without having to go through the process of submitting an application and waiting for their application to be reviewed and sent out. Happy to answer any questions, Brian.
Yeah, I was trying to, I mean, I appreciate you explaining the rationale on that, and you answered a lot of the questions actually that people had. Regardless, there's a second by Mr. Carl Frisch, and a couple of the people behind him. There are two people have requested to amend this, so we're going to go first to the proposed. Let me see if I can find them on here. And I'm going to mute you just for a second, John. We'll come back to you so that you can discuss. Hopefully, we can get maybe just one vote on amending this, sorry, just give me a second. Why can't I find it? I'm sorry, just give me one more second. I'm looking for the person who had sent a, I'm looking for John on the list. John, can we hear you, John Tolerous?
Hi, this is John Tolerous, and I very much appreciated the explanation by John Farrell, with whom I haven't got work in the past. But, you know, I agree with the policy to make it much simpler, especially the mail thing. You know, don't make people do complicated things with the ballot envelope, and don't you know, send them out automatically. That's the only thing I have problem with, you know, allowing or authorizing local registrar to automatically send them to everyone in the jurisdiction. Number two technical reason, based on my experience as an in voting place poll watcher for voter protection. First, I've had experience, and I think the member of the Milton and Democratic Committee had experience that, generally this voter registration roll system, first established in the 19th century, it had difficulty timely updating itself, being updated for people passing, for voter moving away, and that risk, some ballot possibly being automatically delivered to new residents residents vacated by the previous owner. And the second problem is, we don't have 100% vote by mail system. We now have several legal systems: early voting, mail absentee voting, and in-person voting on election day. And Virginia law has complicated rules to prevent people from voting twice using two different systems. Under Virginia law, as of last year, even voter request and the local registrar issued mail absentee ballot to that person. That as of last year, that person could not do in-person absentee voting or informal early voting. And also, if that person, changed his plan, changed his mind, goes to the voting place on election day, he cannot vote regular unless he had brought his mail ballot from home and has to spoil there. That happens too much. But I've seen a few voters running home to get their mail absentee ballot and bring it back to the voting place. And that hadn't happened much because before you had to ask for it. And now if some voter registrar automatically mails it out, that could happen much more often, this year. And we did hear earlier tonight about a terrific new website to make it much easier for voters to request ballot by mail. I appreciate Brian putting down my proposed amendment, so you could see that. Thank you very much.
All right, so thanks, John. So the amendment is a concern about sending a ballot to everyone without requesting it. So basically, it leaves the other parts into the amendment in the resolution, waiving the requirement for a witness and simplifying the ballot envelope, but removes the sending a ballot to everyone, basically. So that's kind of a fundamental difference in the resolution. I'm just going to go to Sue Rosenberg for a moment, just because she said she wanted to make an amendment. And as she talks, I'm going to move back to the first page. Again, if you want to look at the full resolution, you can go back to your email or go to fairfaxdemocrats.org, and you can read it here. Sue, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Maybe you can't hear me, but I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
I can't. Yeah, I can't hear you. Well, can you hear me? If you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. I'll send you a message saying we can hear you.
Okay. I have concern over the paragraph that begins, whereas historically 20% of mailed and absentee ballots were rejected. I've been an election officer in the CAP, and it used to be that the vast majority of maybe 6 or 10 times the other reasons was because the B envelope wasn't sealed. Mark Keem got the law changed so that many, many fewer mailed ballots are rejected. So the 20% statement is a vast overstatement of the current situation. So since we want to encourage voting by mail, I would move to strike that paragraph, because it leaves the impression that voting by mail means that the ballot most likely won't be counted. And it doesn't change the rest of the whereases, but it just throws in a red herring that I think needs to be eliminated. So I move that that be eliminated. And then,
There's another motion on the floor that I want to get second first. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. We can come back to. I would note though that it says historically, so we're not talking about the current state of things.
no, historically, it's like many, many years ago. This law was passed about a dozen years ago.
Right,
So
okay.
I would remove it because I think it sends a bad message that it says to people who may be reading this superficially that, oh, I don't want to vote by mail because the likelihood is my vote won't be counted.
Okay, a good point. So, is there a second to? I guess I got to come back to this. Is there a second to the proposed amendment to remove sending ballots to everyone? Okay, there is a second from Bev Bacon. I have a couple people who have asked to speak on this amendment. So please, I will just implore you, it is 9:04 p.m. I know we don't have to drive home or anything, but I would like to get done by 9:30 if we can. So please keep your comments brief. I'm trying to go back up, but I believe Mr. Press was the first person to request speaking in opposition. Mr.
Thank
Press.
you, Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this really, I think, guts the resolution. The whole idea here is to basically, as much as we can constitutionally, shift this to an all-male election. And to do that, we need to do like those other states with all-male elections do, and mail the ballots to all of the registered voters. Right now, apart from the issue of payment, which is questionable, payment on the return envelopes, the ballot return envelopes, but certainly the registrar right now could mail out the absentee voting applications, which is really what this is saying. So you're going to send, absentee voting applications, and if they send them on paper, that undermines the idea that people can just very quickly go do this online. They need to be available on paper, but they don't need to be mailed to everybody on paper, because the system works much better and much more efficiently and with less staff time if it's just done online. The whole idea here is to get the ballots in the hands of the voters. Now, the person that proposed this, suggested that there are issues with people who really want to go vote in person. They can, if they bring that mailed ballot back with them, they vote regular. If they on the machine, and if they don't bring the ballot back with them, they vote a provisional ballot. But that provisional ballot is automatically counted. It's not like other types of provisional ballots. It's automatically counted if the person didn't return the mailed absentee ballot. And that's how the system works right now. Of course, the legislature can even clean that up if they want to, and we haven't in this resolution. John and the other people that discussed it didn't provide that level of detail, but the legislature could clean that up so that so that people could if they show up and vote, they could just vote. It wouldn't take that complex legislation to even do that. But the whole goal here is to get the ballots in the hand of the voters. As to Sue's suggestion, I do agree with the idea that 20% is too high, but it is important to, and if you could switch the screen, Brian, it is important to point out that actually the biggest reason for rejection of absentee ballots And I've done this. I've worked at the CAP as an observer several times. I mean, I do a lot of this stuff, and I will say it's very obvious that the biggest reason now for rejection of absentee ballots is the lack of a witness signature. So it's not 20%. It's nowhere near 20%. But I do think we need to mention the witness signature requirement there.
All right, thanks, Dan. There have been a couple questions. I guess was a request to point out that the CAP is the central absentee precinct, where, which is where all the absentee precinct or ballots are processed when they come in. There's a question from Larry Lipolis that he would like clarification from the maker of the motion, John Tolleras, about what they're trying to achieve. And I'll try to summarize real quick, but I'll throw it to John. He's trying to make it so that you have to request an absentee ballot. Instead, the original resolution says, we are going to send an absentee ballot to all registered voters. This changes it to say that we can, or this leaves in the original parts about witnesses and simplifying the envelopes, but still requires a person to have to request an absentee ballot. And I'm gonna unmute John to see if he would like to clarify further.
Well, thank you very much. And I feel that the turn language of the resolution is sort of forcing us to go to complete vote by mail. In my opinion, that the General Assembly this year made a really major radical change that took over 50 years to make it easier for people to vote early and vote absentee. And I mean, it'll be some work to make this three-tier system work. But, you know, going all the way to vote by mail or button right now probably requires a great deal of work. And the states that have gone to virtually 100% vote by mail, they have spent several years working on it. And, you know, I get resolving the problem and concerns that I raised. So I think we should stick to the changes we've already made and not try going all the way right now. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, John. I think unless there's an issue with, there are a couple people that want to speak, and hopefully they don't want to just speak to be heard, but one is the original maker of the motion, Mr. Farrell. So let's see. As briefly as possible, and you need to unmute yourself, John.
Brian, I oppose the Toller amendment, and I'd ask the body to reject it. We don't need the General Assembly to authorize local registrars to mail out the applications. If people don't want to mail out, and remember, all we're doing here is authorizing the local registrars to mail out the ballot envelope, to mail out the ballot package, excuse me. This doesn't require them, nor does it require a voter to use that package. And as has been previously, if they don't, then they can vote, either spoil their ballot, sent them. So I would ask the body to vote down the proposed amendment as being, yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, John. And lastly, before I had 3 people request for the question be called, but I'm starting to see I'm starting to see questions not come in anymore. So, Mr. Spitz, briefly, if you can.
Yes, this is Stephen Spitz. I'm co-chair with Kristen Cabral of the Election Law and Voter Protection Committee of FCDC. And I want to speak in favor of John Farrell's resolution and against the amendment by John, the other John. And I just want to say emphasize the point is there's apparently a misunderstanding. This puts it in the potential hand of our electoral board to make a decision about what they want to do and gives them the authority to do what they want to do. Kate Hanley has said that she is considering having the election conducted as much as possible by mail in November. And this would get our own electoral board the freedom to do that. It doesn't require that everybody get a ballot. I would encourage everybody, if this legislation does pass in the General Assembly, to contact the electoral board in Fairfax County with their views. But it's premature to imagine that, the board has to do this. By the word permit, this would only permit the board to do it. So,
okay, thanks, Stephen.
So I oppose the amendment.
Okay. I think let's vote on the amendment. Let's vote on this amendment, and then we can come back to the full resolution in a moment because we might need to make changes. But let's be as expedient as possible. So opening of voting for the amendment. At this moment, I'm going to give about 45 seconds total. So please cast your votes now. The amendment, to clarify, is to remove forwarding ballot packages. So that's does not ask for the General Assembly to permit local registrars to send ballots to people without requests and return envelopes. This amendment would require that people would need to apply for an absentee ballot. So we did talk about a whole bunch of things, but the resolution that's probably not on the screen anymore, but was there, just to clarify, again, if I can, is to remove the part of the resolution that allows for ballot packages to be sent to voters without an application. We've got 71% voted. I'm going to close voting and share the results. The resolution, or the amendment to the resolution, does not pass. So we're back to the the original resolution. Oops, it says proposed amendment, but that's not correct. So I can fix that. Let's see. Sue Rosenberg said she needed to come back. There's actually a question. Let me get to it first. There's a question that says, from Larry Lipolis, why does the resolution not ask for registrars to do this and ask for the General Assembly to offer registrars funds to accomplish that, considering many registrars may not have the capability to do so? And I'm assuming that's primarily because we're talking about Fairfax County, but I'm looking for Mr. Farrell so he can respond to that question.
That's exactly, Brian, you got it exactly right, which is Fairfax has the wherewithal to do this. If we were to say that local registrars have to do it, I think at least what I'm hearing is that the resistance at the General Assembly would be much greater. And if we then said in a year when the budget is upside down because of COVID-19, if we then said the general fund had to come up with the money to do this, I think we'd have even more opposition. So it's really a matter of trying to read the tea leaves and get the most you can out of this General Assembly, out of this special session, which hasn't even been called yet.
It was pointed out on the chat, and I don't know that I really want to reinforce this, but we think that everyone should vote. We will win when everyone votes, but the places that don't really have funding are also probably primarily Republican districts. So I will go, so there's a couple comments on here about Sue's original amendment to remove this paragraph about whereas historically 20% of mailed-in absentee ballots. The original maker of the motion, Mr. Farrell, said he was okay with that. Many other people have said they were okay with that. Are there any objections to removing this paragraph from the resolution? So if there are, please say so in chat now. Otherwise, I will just remove it and we can vote on, we can consider that amended. Okay, so we're going to remove that paragraph. Oh, we have an objection to the removal. Okay, so I will find the person who has objected, and Terry Adams, you may speak.
Yeah, hey, thanks, guys. I think it's fine as is. If it was historically something different and historically could be any time, I think that paragraph is fine as written. I don't think that we're going to be scaring away any people that are interested in voting or unmotivated anybody that's interested in voting. So I object to the change.
Okay, so that means I need to somehow find a way, if I can. That was Terry Adams who was the speaker. Let's see, and there was another objection. Jack, can you help me find a way to have another vote? Can we reuse one of these?
We should be able to. That's what I'm looking at right now. So hold, please.
There have been a couple questions about the removing the witness requirement. That does not apply right now for the primary, but we're really talking about the November election, and that's just a temporary thing by a court ruling. That's not something that is in the code right now. So we're looking for improvements to that.
That's right, Brian.
Is there an objection to just saying historically some absentee ballots were rejected instead of saying 20%? I'm just trying to find a way that we can move along without trying to hold another vote that is that we're having issues conducting or whatever. So I guess I will put it this way: a number of some.
Brian, can you bring up the first sheet of the resolution?
So I just changed it to remove 20% and say some absentee ballots. I guess I probably should have done that differently. Let's see. Strike through or a number of something that is acceptable that we can just kind of move along.
Yeah, Brian, then in order to make sense, you'd have to take out the clause that says meaning over 80% of the voters could be disenfranchised in 2020. That would have to come out also.
Yeah, I guess that's a problem too.
You could take out take out over 80%, 80,000, and just say meaning Fairfax voters could be disenfranchised in 2020.
Wait, can you say that again?
So you made the change to some absentee ballots were rejected. So then you go down to where it says meaning, just take out the words over and then the figure 80,000. Now leave in meaning, take out over 80,000. You take out the figures.
I mean, I feel like we're getting in the weeds and getting caught up in something that honestly.
I'm trying to accommodate Sue, Brian. Just take out the number.
Okay. So people are asking me to take out the 80K as well.
Take out the what?
The 80,000.
Right. That's what I'm asking you to do.
Can I say a number of Fairfax?
Yeah, swell. Is Sue available? Is she happy with that now?
Yeah, I think she has something else she wants to change too, but I just wanted to see if we could get rid of that or go through this now. Sue, is this okay?
I mean, yes, I am happy with that. Let me just say that I am in favor of the general tenor of this resolution, but I think there's something missing from it. And that's something that's missing is that if people receive a ballot by mail and they don't vote on election day, I mean, don't mail it before election day, they can drop it off at one location, not to put it in the mail, but they can drop it off at one location at the Fairfax County Government Center. And I think it's important to have more drop-off locations to be made available. And I would like an amendment to this to say that we would encourage to have multiple drop-off locations for mailed ballots.
If I may,
because right now, what they
I'm going to
have,
object to that. It's
Well,
not
John, can I
germane
respond?
to this motion.
John, I'm going to mute you for a second. So just to be clear, I mean, if you have a ballot, obviously you can return it to the polling.
No, you can't just return it to the polling place. You have to void the ballot. You have to go into the polling place and you have to fill out a new ballot. I would like if people
That is okay.
not have to do that.
Sorry, I'm going to mute you. There was two parts to my response. One is if you have your ballot, you can take it into the polling location and vote it. Two, the electoral board itself already is figuring out ways to put drop boxes on their own in Fairfax County to put drop boxes at all the satellite polling locations. So that's something that seems to be already happening, and I don't think we need to bog the resolution down with adding it right now, but I'm going to unmute you to say if you would like to make a motion to amend. Okay, so
I'm happy with that. I'm very happy that they're doing that because otherwise it would just vitiate the whole point of mailing ballots. So yes,
okay.
And I will say I am strongly in favor of this resolution.
Okay, thank you, Sue. I'm having a whole bunch of call to questions. Is there any other last discussion? If there are kind of the number rejected is much more than what is implied by some. Okay. I think we're probably okay. Are there any? I guess I'll. Mr. McConville, Brian McConville, would you like to speak? Is that no? I guess that's a no. Okay, not seeing any other discussion. I think we're ready to vote on this motion. So I'm going to so this is, to be clear, this is the resolution as amended here on this screen to remove the 20% number and 80,000 number from that paragraph. And then the therefore be it resolved section it was not amended. So that is what we would vote on. I'm going to launch the vote on that now. Okay, just 10 more seconds. I have 80% of people voted at this point, so. Okay, I'm about to close voting, so please make your selection. Okay, 82% voted, and the motion or the resolution carries. Thank you. I think that was kind of a great discussion. We'll see kind of what happens, and hopefully we find new ways to do safe voting and allow everyone to vote. Okay, is there any other new business before we move on to announcements? Okay. Actually, well, I kind of meant to do this earlier. Hold on, let me go to Maritza, Chair of Mount Vernon. Maritza, do you have something for us? No. Okay. Let me try that again. Maritza, are you there?
Yes, yes.
You're causing an echo. Do you have new business?
No, not today. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Think I misunderstood. Okay. Just before everyone runs, because some people did leave, I do want to introduce two people who are on the phone with us. Adam Kubicki and Samantha Garza are coordinated campaign folks so far for kind of Mark Warner's campaign. So I'm gonna find them and allow them to speak. So there's Adam, and I'm looking for you, Samantha. Oh, I can't unmute Samantha. We'll see if we can get her on there. But go ahead, Adam.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know if you can get Samantha in there, and I'll pass it over to her real quick. But thank you, everyone, for inviting me to speak here today. My name is Adam Kubicki. I've worked with many of you in the past on previous coordinated campaigns, and this year I'll be serving as the Regional Field Director for Region 1. Region 1 is all of Internova, so that's Fairfax County, Fairfax City, Alexandria, Arlington, and City of Falls Church as well. Since I know we're running short on time here, I just wanted to make a quick plug for the coordinated campaign. Obviously, the pandemic has, kicked our entire strategy a little out of whack, but we've been adapting. And if you'd like to get a little bit more involved with the coordinated campaign, you can go to a website, mobilize.us/VA Victory. And if you go there, you'll see that next Tuesday, which is June 2nd, there's an event at 6 p.m. where you can sign up to meet your Northern Virginia organizers. Right now, there's 3 of us in the region. There's going to be as many as 15 very, very soon. We're going to be ramping up our hiring very shortly. And then next, I just wanted to very quickly plug, if you go to markwarner.com and then click on the digital organizing link there. It's just markwarner.com, click on digital organizing. You can find our virtual campaign office by signing up on that Google form. We have a Slack channel where you can interact with other volunteers, with the staff directly. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to working with a lot of you again. And with that, I'll just check in real quick to see if Samantha was able to be unmuted, and I'll let her introduce herself as her direct contact in Northern Virginia.
Seems like Samantha didn't enter the phone pin, the audio pin. I tried to send it to her again, but I haven't seen her. Can you give me the web addresses again, or something? I mean, we will send them out to everyone as well. So maybe that will, but maybe if you just read them again, and I'll see if I have what I have in my email too.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So where you can find all of our virtual events is mobilize.us/VA Victory. And there you'll find everything in the state, not just in Northern Virginia. And if you want to join our virtual campaign office where you can interact with folks, other volunteers, campaign staffers, stay more up to date on everything, it's just markwarner.com, and then click on the digital organizing link. And there's a Google form in there where you just fill out your information, and we'll get you an invite into our virtual campaign office.
Okay, let's see if I can get those on the screen, or just make it flash. There we go.
Awesome.
I tried one more time on Samantha, and I didn't get her. So, but mobilize.us/VA victory. Great, and we will send out details. And you're going to see a lot more from. I will say I'm very happy that Adam. I mean, Adam knows Fairfax County. I met him, I think, first in the Fairfax Young Dems. So I'm very excited to have him. And I talked to Samantha a couple days ago, and we had a really great conversation. So I'm looking forward to working with the team, and we're going to win big. So we will continue to work with them and connect everyone to opportunities to support the coordinated campaign. So let's see if I can find Andy. Let's see if he's still there. Andy Pavord, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Is Matt Savage ready to vote on? I couldn't find information on him. He wasn't on the list that we had before the meeting.
I think so.
Okay. So thank you. So I will consider that, and I will personally second a motion to approve Matt Savage as a new FCDC member who was left off of the original list. If that can be approved without objection, we can move on to announcements. Seeing there is no objection, let's move on. Carl Frisch has requested to make an announcement. If you are making an announcement, please be as brief as possible. We're after 9:30. I know we're all like in our pajamas at home, but let's be quick. So Carl, go ahead.
Let's see if I can do it in less than 15 seconds. Everything's closed, and no Pride celebrations across the country. They're all canceled. So we are having one of our own. Congressman Jerry Connolly, Danica Rome, Brian Sims from Pennsylvania, Adam Eben, Mark Levine, Mark Sickles. We're all coming together to have a virtual Pride celebration for equality. Go to prouddems.org. Again, that's prouddems.org to RSVP. It's going to be a lot of fun. We even have a queen from RuPaul's Drag Race who's joining us. So it's going to be a lot of fun from your living room in your PJs, just like Brian said. Thanks.
Apparently, thank you, Carl. I was on mute. Apparently, just I need to point out it was markwarnerva.com, not markwarner.com. So okay, let's. I have an announcement from Kimberly Adams. The 10th Congressional District Committee is holding an online fundraising auction to support their efforts to re-elect Congresswoman Jennifer Wexton. Online bidding will begin in about a month on June 22nd and will culminate with a live online event on June 28th. Look for more information soon. They are looking for and still accepting donated items such as tickets, gift certificates, and baskets. You can reach out to Kimberly Adams. Kimberly Adams, I think your email's on our website, Kimberly, but okay. Morgan Jameson has requested to speak as a candidate for DNC. Again, briefly, please.
Thank you, Brian. Just a quick request for those of you who are national delegates state delegates to the state convention June 20th. If elected, I will be the first openly LGBT member of our DNC delegation representing DPVA proper. I will also be one of 40 people under one of 35 people under the age of 40 on the DNC. So I hope that you all will consider voting for me. I voted in favor of the climate debate and in favor of the DNC delegate election reforms. Thank you very much for your support.
All right, thank you, Morgan. Let's see, are there any other announcements that we haven't already covered? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, seeing that seeing that there are no additional announcements, we are adjourned. There's our next meeting is July 28th at 7:30 p.m. And I currently have a typo on here too. It will maybe not will be maybe virtual. So thank you all for putting up with all of the discussion we had. I hope you all have a good night and a safe rest of the week. Thank you.